Coming up on Up at Noon, telephones keep exploding and causing fires. Here's what we want from Stranger Things Season 2. And here's some movies that the Boba Fett spin-off film could take some cues from. All that and more right now on Up at Noon Live.
It is noontime and
Hey!
it's Up at Noon.
Hey,
and this
it's that
is
song
Up
again.
at Noon. You know it's time for do. Oh, hi everybody. How you doing?
What's
Didn't
up,
see you there.
Out?
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to Up at Noon. I'm Max Scoville. This is Brian Altano.
Pew, 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 pew.
And this is Zach Ryan, whose
Hello.
thumbs
Hello.
usually see when we're doing a good job. He's our producer.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm on the show today.
Why?
I don't know. You guys
All right.
never tell me these things. All
right, so,
come on and get on the show, and here I am.
First things first, a little bit of housekeeping. Zach, get out of the way. You're blocking our sponsor.
Bring it up on your
Hot
screen.
Pockets. Where is it on the screen? Show me.
Can you move your arm? We can't see what's inside
Get
the
out
Hot
of the,
Pocket.
get off the thing.
Can you get
Get out of there.
There
What do you
it
think's
is.
in the Hot Pocket? So if you're unfamiliar,
Nom,
pockets
nom, 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 nom.
are little pouches that have stuff inside them, and Hot Pockets are pockets that have stuff like pepperoni and cheese and hearty satisfaction inside. So thank you, Hot Pockets, for sponsoring our show. And Zach, please apologize to the Hot Pockets for blocking them.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Block
You
pop.
wonderful pockets, you.
Anyway, you guys can be watching at home on all sorts of different devices. We are on IGN.com, Twitch.tv/IGN, YouTube.com/IGN, PS4 app, Xbox One app, Roku app, Apple TV app, and Facebook, and most smart fridges. I keep making that joke, and it stays not funny. Anyway,
Do you think anybody's ever watched a show on a smart fridge for real?
I feel like somebody's hacked a fridge.
I think
to
a
be-
guy that fell on his kitchen floor who can't change the channel or whatever.
I'm hurt so bad.
Luckily, he's
but I
not
gotta watch Up
dehydrated,
at
though,
Noon.
because you can just be like, smart fridge, feed me water, and it just does a little door.
Yeah, we're wearing IFBs, which are things you plug in your ear. A lot of people asked us last week if we were wearing earrings.
These suck. If
They're
we
not-
sound,
they're
we
not
sound
earrings.
especially loud. This is like what the Secret Service wears.
Yeah, this is actually so we can communicate with the dead.
Yeah, like you know that part in the Matrix where they pull the thing out of Neo's neck and he's
Yep.
like, "Whoa!" It's like, honestly, it feels like that, but crossed with a Q-tip.
Counterpoint, you two are crybabies.
Shut up.
Oh.
And I get in their ears and I tell them, hey, let's get to the next thing.
Okay, all right. Let's get
Thank
to the
you.
next
See?
thing.
All right, anyway,
This has been a big week, but before we get started there, I'm going to be on Twitter the entire episode. Not like that. I mean, I'll be paying attention to you, don't worry. But use the hashtag Up at Noon if you want to interact with us throughout the show. Just like William Holbert just did, he said, Zach is on the air.
Hey, it's true.
That
He's
is
here.
true.
Yeah.
We might be opening up a little present from William Hobart at the end of the show, so we're going to do that. But very first, most importantly, one of the biggest games of the year, which just got delayed again to December, a game you're probably used to hearing getting delayed, is The Last Guardian. And believe it or not, two people sitting at this table right here, you two guys, got to play it this week. So, Zach, you put up an awesome preview yesterday.
Thank you.
And I mean awesome, not in the sense that it was just like overwhelmingly positive. It was balanced and measured. I think you found a lot of stuff you liked and a lot of stuff that
right.
was kind of cumbersome. Max, you got to play it too. We hadn't really heard your
Yeah.
thoughts on it. So, tell me about The Last Guardian. This game's out in December. Is it ready?
Ish. So I'd like to preface anything that we say about The Last Guardian, that I'm going to say anyway, by saying that Eco and Shadow of the Colossus are two of my probably top 10 favorite games.
Sure.
I
Absolutely.
love those games, and I especially love them in the early 2000s when they came out. The Last Guardian, I feel, is a pretty good successor to those games in a lot of ways. Obviously, it's gorgeous. We're taking a look at it here. One detraction from it, though, is that it does feel a lot like those games in the sense that it feels very much like a game from 2006, 2007. It's I wouldn't even call it nostalgic. I mean, it's got not a lot of control issues, but there's definitely some control issues. There's some camera issues, but I don't necessarily think that means that it's going to be a bad game. I think that
Right.
I think that Shadow of the Colossus was an amazing game, in spite of those same sorts of issues.
Yeah.
So I think like sort of calling back to that era of design is good in this nostalgia sort of sense, in that we don't really get a lot of games like this anymore. Just weird sort of 3D platformer puzzle games anymore. But it's also we don't have rotary phones or we don't have punch ballots on
Yeah.
voting booths for the most
Also,
part.
going back and playing games is really strange because like it is a constantly being improved upon medium. Like,
Yeah.
things are always getting better. Visually, I think this game is stunning. Like,
Absolutely.
I love how it looks. I think they do a good job of balancing aesthetic choices versus like just trying to be graphically impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were playing this game. That last room there where you jumped off Trico's back. I was having trouble with that because you can't really tell where the boy's gonna go.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the thing. That's the thing that is very reminiscent of Shadow of the Colossus. That game, I think it's a game that I go back and play just about every year. And the further we get away from its initial release, the more I realize that you sort of just point your character in the right direction and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And that's certainly the way that The Last Guardian felt. In the initial room, this chain that you have to climb up here, it took me like 7 or 8 jumps before I could actually grab onto it.
Yeah,
And it's because it's one of those things where like anytime I would hit triangle, he would just sort of climb up onto whatever was nearest.
Is this you playing right here? Like this is your capture?
Yes.
Okay.
No, this is not my capture.
Okay, so this is the pros
I was
getting
wrong.
at it. Yeah, so when I was playing, I kept falling off and dying in like the last room we were in, jumping off the damn dog, because he would I would jump and then he would move his head and I'd catch onto his head and I'd try to jump off his head and I'd fall down and die. And eventually the dev jumped in. He's like, "Here, let me take care of that." I was like, "Well, this is embarrassing." And he tries to do it, and first try he dies too. And I was like, "Okay, I feel less bad about that." You know? And the thing is, it's not like one of those things where it's like, "Oh, I suck at the game because it's difficult." I suck at the game because it's kind of pushing back against me. It's just not tight. You know.
The way I would describe it is cumbersome.
Yeah.
You know?
Meanwhile, this room you're in right here, which is exactly the same height difference of the last room, that part where you saw him kind of climbing down all those poles and stuff.
Yeah.
I just took a flying leap off the side because I thought I'd have bad depth perception or whatever.
Sure.
And I just landed on the ground and I was fine. So I just jumped basically right down to here. So the last 30 seconds, whatever we saw. I think a lot of people are going to be they're going to forgive this game for any kind of technical flaws it has on the basis that they have waited a long time for it. And
Well, I've seen a lot of the reaction to the preview coverage, which, Zach, yours was very much in line with the rest of the industries, where people saying, this game's gorgeous, it's got these really great sort of awe-inspiring moments.
Yeah.
You had that great quote in yours about closing your eyes, making a leap, or watching something happen, these leaps of faith, and sort of your pet dog saving you at the last minute, your bird dog. But what a lot of people were saying is just like, well, yeah, I'm prepared for that because I played those old games before, and I don't necessarily know if that's entirely like a valid thing to say. I mean, of course it is. Put up with anything you want in this world. But I think that in 2016, especially after a game's been delayed this long, you would expect maybe a third set of eyes to come in on this game and go, hey, maybe make the camera control a little bit tighter, maybe make jumping a little less cumbersome. Even running around, he seems to he kind of walks like the Rugrats do.
Yeah.
I
mean, I kind of have to give the public the benefit of the doubt in that they are very, very optimistic about this game, as am I. And I feel like it's one of those issues where they are saying those kinds of things like, hey, I'm totally willing to put up with these kind of floaty controls in order to have an experience, and I'm right there with you. But I also think that a lot of people are coming from a place of like, maybe you haven't played a game that came out 11 years ago in a while, and it's funny.
I mean, let's be realistic. Like, people who play video games are frequently teenagers, and this game was announced, or it's been in the works for basically 12 years. Like their last games came out that long ago, and chances are, people who were 4 or 5 years old 12 years ago, probably weren't playing games like Shadow of the Colossus and Ico.
Well,
so it's
a lot of the reception I saw specifically were people who were playing Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, or Ico, Shadow of the Closet, I almost called it.
Yeah, Shadow of the Closet.
That great R. Kelly song. And I think it's like they're sort of coming in with the expectations that this is the way it should control. Whereas I look at a game like this and I go like, well, I think there's things I'll get used to. Like, I noticed the jump is triangle. That's just strange. But it was also strange that when I played Breath of the Wild at E3, and I was like, oh, you put the jump button on the Wii U's version. Yeah, the top button. And it's not something I normally associate with what it should be jump, but it's something I got used to after 30 minutes of playing. So I think there's little issues that you'll come around to. Yeah. But things like camera, if it's something you're babysitting the entire game, I mean, there's that sort of that classic Nintendo design philosophy is that, which I think Shadow of the Colossus and Ico are sort of rooted in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like those games have a very Zelda feel.
Yes, so. Absolutely. It's like when a camera's really good, you don't have to think about it too much.
Is that a specifically Japanese design philosophy? Because Metal Gear also has you jumping with triangle and then crouching with X.
Maybe.
It's the same thing
with
this game.
So I think that from what I've heard, the triangle button is up, right? It points upward, so it's like sort of a visual cue.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. We're getting in the weeds here, but I think that really, I mean, I'm trying to kind of, temper my expectations with this. I think it's going to be a fascinating game, if nothing else.
I'm going to flat out say right now, based on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and what I'll hopefully play soon, is I don't think this game is going to get any 10s. I think this game is going to be sort of a little bit all over the place, and that's totally okay. Like, if you only play 10s, you're missing out on tons of games, but I understand for money reasons that's probably what you do. But I think that this is going to be a slightly divisive game in 2016, and I think that's a weird thing to sort of stomach after 10 years of development.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that all these games have been slightly divisive. I mean, Shadow of the Colossus got universal acclaim critically, but I know plenty of people that say, like, hey, I just couldn't hang with it, it just wasn't for me, which is fine.
Right.
You know? I will say that, I said this in my preview, but I feel like this is a game that is going to be made up of moments, and that, like, you'll see it in the preview video, but jumping from this huge ledge and catching on to Trico's tail, or when you finally figure out how to maneuver him to the next room or something like that, like, those are going to be the things that stick with you and can maybe get you through some of the annoyances in the moment-to-moment gameplay.
Like this moment right here.
Like this right here, yeah.
Which is not something I'd remember. But I think about it as sort of like when you're watching a TV show and it's got great heart-to-heart moments between characters, but then the dialogue is cumbersome, or like the cinematography's bad.
Yeah.
But you stick around for those payoff moments.
Right.
You know, it's the same way you'll watch a lot of, like, I don't know, comic book movies for the most part. Not the best written things all the time, but there's great fight scenes, there's great action sequences. You stick around for that.
Yeah.
And to play devil's advocate here also,
I love that game.
Yeah, it's a really good one. The game looks absolutely beautiful, and I think that if Sony is going to take the next 6-8 weeks, however long they have until the December 6th release date, to focus purely on camera, and maybe make the controls a little weightier, which I don't really know how impossible that would be at this point in the game.
That feels like that would change the entire scope of the entire game.
They'd have to rescope all the physics, but
4
like
years probably.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not so bad that minor tweaks couldn't fix it.
So YKM on Twitter asked, did you guys see multiple bird dogs in your demo? How did that work? Because I know we
just
heard
the
that there
one.
were a lot.
This demo you're seeing, the second you kind of get through this next hallway here, it's going to be the E3 2015 demo we saw, where it's those big weird minecart things with like God's eyes all over them, and he's like, the dog's just messing everything up, and there's wood going everywhere.
So we really haven't seen more than like 25 minutes of this game.
No, and they've been very like shrewd about that, because I think they want it to be a surprise.
Which
and
I'm okay with.
That's also totally going to work in its favor.
Yeah. Look at you hanging on that dog's butt.
Yeah, I felt really uncomfortable, because I was just like, that's probably going to smell awful, and also like if you get close to that dog's nads, he's probably going to get weird. I don't know. I got a dog at home. He doesn't like having his stuff touched.
Mandarine, that's Dan Marine on Twitter, asked, The Last Guardian reminds me of the film's never-ending story and Life of Pi. Do we know what influenced this game's design?
I mean, probably everything in the last 10 years, I would assume.
Yeah, I would say probably folklore and just,
Yeah.
I mean, Team Eco's they're developers who very much aren't like, oh hey, we just saw a hot new movie, we're gonna make a game based on it. Like, they kind of march to the beat of their own drum, and that's why they're critically acclaimed.
I mean,
because
there
they're
was Jason Schreier from Kotaku retweeted a tweet from Sony the other day saying it was from ages ago, and it was like, we're excited to announce the release date for The Last Guardian on PS3.
Yeah.
Like, just to give you a perspective.
I believe that was from 2011.
2011. So
Yeah.
we've now, I mean, if you count the Slim and the Pro and all this other stuff, we're like 3 Sony actual hardware iterations later to find this thing running. So yeah, it's been a long run. I don't know if there's anything brand new that's influencing them, but definitely I see a little Falcor in this, right?
For sure. Yeah, totally.
Guys, I got to get out of here. I got to produce the rest of the show.
All
but
right.
I will say, hopelessly optimistic.
Hopelessly optimistic. That's good too.
That's a hot new romantic comedy
optimistic.
coming to theaters.
I really blew that outro.
Zach, people can find your preview on IGN. You did a video preview on YouTube if you want a more in-depth look at this game. And if you're in spoiler-free zone, it's pretty much the same areas we've seen already.
Yep.
Yeah.
And otherwise, just wait till December. You can play it yourself, and you can form your own opinions, and that's the thing.
Imagine that.
See you guys later.
See
Get
ya.
out of here. Go on now. Go on, shoot.
So we actually have a lot more show to
yeah,
go
we
on
do.
to today. Some will say it's even explosive. Shut up. Max, what's blowing up in the world?
Okay, so last week we talked about the iPhone 7 and how everyone was really, really mad.
Good one, Zach.
Go on. Get out of here. Just shoot. Take your trash and literally fell off the stage. It's not even a stage. It's like 7 inches tall. This is ridiculous.
You actually fell off our stage.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Nicely done. I wish we had a camera on that. That was pretty good. All right. So anyway, let me try that again.
So last week the iPhone 7 press conference happened, and we found out about the missing headphone jack, which you're probably still upset about.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered one anyway, and I've justified a billion different ways on how I'm going to power through that.
Yeah.
Until I started realizing I'm going to need a separate set of headphones when I plug in my 3DS and blah 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 blah.
So yeah, headphones. That's a real noggin scratcher right there.
Yeah.
But a bigger issue you could have with your telephone is that it starts fires.
Yep.
Which apparently is the case with the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, I'm surprised this hasn't been getting more coverage, honestly. In the past couple weeks, basically throughout August, people were reporting that they were experiencing small fires coming from their Galaxy Notes when left charging. Apparently the batteries have been basically too good at having power inside them, and the power is escaping out in the form of flames and heat.
Yeah, they're catching fire, which is just
Yeah.
an insane thing to think about, something that is predominantly used in your hand.
Yeah, or in your house,
Yeah.
or in your car, or
Yep.
really in your pants. There's
Really,
all kinds of places.
There's nothing really that you're like, I wish
Yeah.
this caught on fire periodically.
Yeah, I mean, nobody keeps their phone in their fireplace, so there's
Yeah.
really no upside to this. But yeah, Samsung has officially put out a recall for the Galaxy Note 7.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, we'll give you a new one, just please bring it back. So this is from Samsung's official blog. They're like, hey, I like how they're just spinning this as positively as possible. We're committed to producing high quality products that, won't explode. This is from Reddit. Guy posted, yeah, the first case in Australia. So at this point, this had already been going on. This guy's like, yeah, so I was asleep in a hotel and it was charging and it exploded. And he posted photos.
Wow.
Yeah, so
It said it did $1,800 worth of damage to the hotel, which
So-
means he got that bill,
yeah,
not including the...
here's a look. Also, this is what a hotel will charge you $1,800 for, which I think is kind of funny.
Are you sure you didn't poop on the rug?
That might have been there already. There could have somebody. Yeah,
I like how it made a smiley face sideways.
But yeah, so this apparently that's terrifying.
That it's really scary.
That a hotel would charge that much money to fix like a small swatch of carpet.
I know, and think about what that rug is probably full of.
Yeah, and worse
Ants.
things have happened on that bed, I'm sure.
Yep.
Anyway, but yeah, so it was $800 of Australian money, which is like $1,300 American. Still ridiculous, and still you got to get a new phone. And then there's other stories. Apparently, airlines have straight up been like calling out Samsung's Galaxy Note specifically.
Wow.
So like you're ready for takeoff, and they're like, please be sure to put your devices into airplane mode, unless it's a Galaxy Note 7, in which case turn it off for the love of God. It's going to set our plane on fire. Maybe this wouldn't be such a big issue if you let us bring liquids on so we could extinguish fires if we felt like it. Sorry.
With tiny
that's another
toothpaste
issue.
tubes.
Yeah. And then, of course, the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, which is like a federal organization, straight up is like, hey, this is endangering you. This is just kind of insane. This keeps going. This guy left it in his car, and his car caught fire. Like he went inside to like get his dog or something. And
You know what's... Wow. You know what's insane about that? So that thing on the right, which I believe is the phone, I think I see
phone.
the on button at the top.
Yeah.
If you go to the Nintendo World Store in New York City, they have a original Nintendo Game Boy that survived the Gulf War and got like blown up.
Yep.
And it's still running Tetris. Hardware sucks now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the batteries are better. It's you can't blow up a car with 4 AA's, so there's
That's
that. Then, of course, this one is especially bad. A 6-year-old boy got burned when a Samsung Galaxy Note exploded in his hand. Again, sort of maybe don't give your children smartphones. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't know.
So,
But
I mean,
yeah,
here's the thing.
He was watching videos, and then the battery exploded.
His grandmother was babysitting him. I
Okay.
totally understand. If you're a parent, that's one thing. If you're a grandmother and you're like, I don't understand this millennial child, just
He was eating a jar of jam and playing with the smartphone.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's just horrible. So, I mean, I don't want to say that's better or worse than a headphone jack, but guess what? It's worse.
Yeah, so what's Samsung doing about this? Well, aside from basically bribing people to return their phones and giving them free phones in exchange and probably taking a hit in the billions in terms of this being, like this was supposed to be your iPhone 7 killer. Like they were like, hey, we've got a headphone jack, we're waterproof too.
Well, if
we've
you
got
put
a
it on
great
top of an
battery, and then-
iPhone 7, it's an iPhone 7
Yeah,
killer.
there you go. Well, apparently one thing they might be trying to do, just to kind of curb their losses, is remotely kill all the Galaxy Notes. So like, basically order 66. Like they're going to be like, okay, all of these, we're going to brick all our phones remotely. Like they're going to push a firmware update or something that basically makes it so that, And I feel like anybody who isn't paying attention to this kind of news isn't going to be the kind of person who has like, custom firmware and stuff and updated. I mean, it's the kind of person who's, I don't know what's going to stop them, but there's probably something in the, user license agreement or whatever where they can be like, yeah, if we need to, we're going to nuke it from orbit.
So I think one of the most terrifying things about that is that now we know that phone companies can basically be like, we can just completely eradicate, we can take over the world in a heartbeat. We can just shut down every product we make.
Yeah,
remotely.
I mean they haven't. I mean this is I think an idea. They haven't really done it yet.
Yeah.
I think the French division of Samsung has like talked about doing it. In the meantime, I think they've basically pushed a firmware update that limits your battery life. So they put these overkill batteries in there, and they're like, they're unstable. So we're going to make it so they only charge 70% or whatever. But yeah, this is just an insane story. Like, we talk about a lot of weird stuff in the news, but the fact that this is like an ongoing thing, this has been going on since the beginning of the month.
Yep.
And everyone's like, I don't know, I really need a headphone jack. I don't like the idea that I can't listen to music and charge the phone at the same time. And it's like, a child was burned in an explosion from a telephone.
A car blew up.
It's a phone.
Yeah, it shouldn't be happening.
All right,
so if you have a Samsung Galaxy Note 7 and you've experienced anything like this, let us know. Use the hashtag #UpAtNoon and hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah, or
send us
hit
an
up
email,
Samsung and get a new phone.
Yeah, figure out what's going on with that. I wonder if they just give you like the Note 6 or whatever. Like, do they give you an old phone?
I think they give you a new one. They're putting out ones that have like a little check mark on the box or something that means that they've fixed it or something. I don't know. But
or they can give you one that just comes in like a bag of water.
They give you one that comes with a fire extinguisher.
Yep.
The good news is it is waterproof, so there you go.
So let's focus on some of the cool stuff that happened this year hardware-wise, because if you love video games like we do, you're always on the fence of like when to buy a new TV, when to buy a new console. Getting consoles is tough because when you buy them at launch, they're always exactly the same. They're stock, right? But as the years go on, special edition ones start happening. And this year, even though it's only September, has actually been really cool for stuff like that. So we thought Max and I would take a look at some of our favorite pieces of video game hardware that came out this year. Starting with the Final Fantasy 15 limited edition PS4 Slim.
This is coming out of TGS. I think this is so far only announced for Japan. Do we know about that for sure?
I think you might be able to get it everywhere.
Yeah, I mean they haven't. I don't think they've probably pushed
I know
it yet.
It's got a 1 terabyte hard drive.
It's called the Luna edition.
Yeah, the stand is probably sold separately. I'm like never too insane about like sort of like surface level texture work or stickers on consoles like this, since my console sits in an entertainment center.
This is gorgeous.
This one, like if you want to display it, like this is really pretty. It's not like it doesn't have a giant picture of like Hulk Hogan or something on it.
This is very classy. We have the Darth Vader Battlefront edition, which it's pretty nice on the console itself, but the controller looks like it was painted by a child. It's really kind of ugly, but this has got like nice Roman numerals. It's pretty much it's just not in your face too much. So I think it's pretty nice.
Yep.
Then you've got kind of on the other side, you got the Gears of War. I Hate My Stepdad Blood Ravaged Action Edition.
Yeah, so this one, I'm not crazy about the controller, but the console looks like really cool. Like I like the sort of movement to it. It's got this kind of like it looks like it survived an attack like everything else in Gears of War does. We were just saying earlier about like consoles you want to show off and ones you want to put away. I think even in your entertainment center, if you open this thing up and you're met with this giant blood red console, it's pretty cool.
The good news is also like you can totally just snack a bunch and use that controller and it's not going to show.
Yeah, if you eat blood while you play
like,
games.
oh yeah, just you just get some marinara sauce on there or whatever.
Yep. I know what you're hinting at, Max.
Yep.
I do love a good marinara.
Yep, you do get Ryan has like many Italians, he's got just plastic coverings on all sorts of things in his house, including the controllers. So there's that.
I have one of those bucket hats with two jars of sauce on each side with the straws coming out. Let's take a look at the next one. This one's a little more simple. If you probably caught this a couple months ago back when Uncharted 4 was released, but this is just a Nathan Drake Uncharted 4 Special Edition PS4. It's the OG PS4, which is weird calling it that now. But it's cool looking, and it's got this sort of like gray blue look to it.
I think they frequently do these kind of special editions to use up stock before they put out like I know Nintendo will always do this with like 3DSs where they're like, oh hey, it's the new 3DS regular edition, but it's Fire Emblem branded or whatever, and then like 2 weeks later they're like, hey, it's the new XL, and you're like, why didn't you just do it with the new one? And it's like because they want to use up those parts for the guts and put a new like logo on it.
Yeah, it was also like when we were playing Uncharted 4, we had no idea if the Slim was a real thing, what the Neo even was. So
I gotta say, as far as special editions go, I kind of hate this one because it's like this is like a cool action game, and I know they were kind of angling like Uncharted 4 as being like, oh, this is very serious. This is Thief's End. It's very exciting, but like. Why not get him like swing on a grappling hook or something? Like I don't know.
It's the box art. It's that sort of like I had a rough day kind of.
Yeah, it's like let's just put a PNG on there and call it a day.
I love the box itself more than I love the PS4. All right, let's keep going. This one's really cool. This is the Early Enlister Deluxe Edition for Battlefield 1. It's like very muted, but also kind of special. Like I don't know. It's just a I can't name this color.
Olive drab,
I guess. Yeah. Like it's cool. It's sort of like this very subdued World War I.
It reminds me of It reminds me of a Zune, honestly.
Yeah.
Like they had that one they had like a brown Zune, and it was just like, oh yeah, brown MP3 player. All right. Yeah. I've actually talked to people about this who work in like merchandising and I don't know, dealing with hardware manufacturers and stuff. Apparently there are like just millions of hoops to jump through in terms of making anything that deviates from the standard box So like I would love to see something that looks like a piece of like World War I ordnance. Like if they made the box look like it was half canvas and half wood, or it's got like rivets on it.
So you want like a World War I.
I mean, if
Xbox One S that's basically designed the way the Pikachu N64 was.
Pretty
much.
much.
Has like a 3D.
I mean, I want a case mod. Like, I would love it if it was something like, if I'm really committing to, like, if I was going to get a Gears of War Xbox, I would love it if it looked like some technology from that universe. Same with Battlefield 1. I mean, Uncharted, if they just, splattered some mud on there or something, but instead they're like, here's a different color and a silhouette of a man. All right, so then of course there's just the regular vanilla.
The stock white Xbox One S is like just all of a sudden one of my favorite looking consoles of all time. And I looked at this in the wild in these product shots and stuff like that, and it's one thing. But Per Schneider, and I should have thrown a picture in here, who's the founder of IGN, he has like a white entertainment center with like a really nice TV above it, and he put the Xbox One S right on top of it. And it just works so well. It's very nice, it's very minimalist. It's a far cry away from the Xbox One that I got at launch that has this giant box next to it.
I think this is probably the prettiest console on the market right now.
Yeah, it's up there.
Then of course we got brand new Vitas coming out in Japan.
Vitas, specifically, all these colors have been available, but they just announced this new sort of orange red and
all these flavors, and you
the
choose
silver
to be
one.
salty.
And I've seen silver PSPs. Silver Vitas have kind of been a thing sort of for a while, but this is the new model of it.
I don't like the silver at all.
Really?
Nah, I don't think it's good.
Max, this is the name of the segment is our the
I don't like
coolest
it.
looking. Not
I like the
a bunch of
red.
things we
I think
hate.
the red's all right. It looks like a delicious candy.
I think the silver one's gorgeous.
I would like the orange, but I would like to eat it.
Either way, it's nice to hear the word Vitas uttered by Sony in 2016, even if it was only in Japan.
All right. So moving on. Oh wait, we skipped a few here.
Yeah.
Oh well, screw it. Okay. What? You want to laugh at me? You want to fall off the stage again, Zach? Our producer's in here.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's right. You mind your manners.
Okay.
All
right,
well, that
we're
was
doing
the
the
end
show.
of that segment, I guess.
All right. He was yelling at me in my earpiece. I don't know what you want. I hate these things. They suck. All right. Hold on a sec. Are you serious? He's like, he knocked over a camera.
All right, just fucking do the show.
Okay, we're doing the show. Don't get mad at me. Anyway, so we're getting Star Wars standalone movies. That's a thing that's going to be happening. We know about a Han Solo one. I think everyone's been talking about the idea of a Boba Fett movie for ages because he's kind of the fan favorite character. I think it's going to be one of those things where no matter what they do, a lot of people are going to get mad and a lot of people are going to get excited. I'm a big Boba Fett fan, as you can see by all my dumb toys here. So I've been kind of thinking about what do I want from that, and I don't want to get my expectations all wrangled up. But I figured I'd put together. Here are 7 movies that I wish a Boba Fett movie would take cues from. So here are some movies. If you haven't seen them, you should. Not going to spoil anything. Starting with Fistful of Dollars and Yojimbo. These are kind of the same movie. Yojimbo is a classic samurai movie, and Fistful of Dollars, of course, classic Clint Eastwood Western. The premise is pretty much the same. This total badass rolls into town where there's these 2 warring factions, and he basically plays both sides against each other. And like, that's so perfect for Boba Fett. Like, I would love it if he rolls into like some, middle of nowhere outer rim town, and you've got like the Hutts and the Whippets going against each other in some kind of weird Star Wars gang war. It could be like kind of small scale and really stylized. But like, this is a kind of a story where you've got this main character who doesn't say a whole lot, just kind of kicks ass. And then moving on, another one, Leon the Professional. This is there's Natalie Portman right there.
So Padme is going to be in the
No,
film?
I don't think that would make any sense. You'd have to retcon a lot to make Boba Fett training Padme. But I mean, like, Leon as a character is very like he doesn't say much. He's very like weird and shrewd and kind of keeps to himself. And again, he's a trained hitman. But then he winds up getting kind of like mixed up with this girl who he's like, I don't want to deal with her crap. But then he's like, maybe I could. So like, what if that's how you continue Boba Fett's universe? Is you make him kind of like this old guy training this young new person, and then you have like a new character. I mean, they kind of there's that lady with the cool painted face who's like the snitch in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I forget her name, but she has a short story you can find on ebooks or whatever, and it's cool because it talks about her being trained to be an assassin. I don't know. I like that idea of somebody being trained. Anyway, another one. This one works really well. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Specifically Thunderdome, which is kind of like, people aren't really crazy about this movie as far as the Mad Max series goes. But it pretty much starts out with Mad Max as this like weirdo who's just wandering around in the desert. And then jerks take his truck and he's like, I gotta get my truck back. And it's like, all right, well, what do you have to get your truck back with? And he's like, well, I can kick ass. So like, I don't know, maybe Boba Fett gets stranded somewhere. Like he needs parts for Slave One or whatever. So he winds up kind of proving himself. And this could work with Boba Fett as like, you know, a young character, and he's just kind of figuring out how to be cool. And
I really love the idea of his ship getting stolen and having to go to war to find it back.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And then of course, this is Midnight Run. This is kind of one of the original like one of those buddy comedies where you've got De Niro, who's a bounty hunter, and then Charles Grodin, who's like he's a mob accountant, and it turns into this whole kind of a buddy cop road movie where basically the FBI is after Grodin, and so is the mob, and he's trying to get them to like. I think like the witness protection or something.
Yeah.
So like the idea that Boba Fett's stuck with this guy he doesn't want to deal with, he just wants his money. He's trying to drag him on home. So like imagine if he was like, I don't know, like an annoying Gungan smuggler or something that it was like, yeah, the Hutts want you, the Empire wants you, and so does your family. Who's paying me the most? Let's find out.
I like that you keep hovering around like buddy cop stuff. It's very interesting for Boba Fett as a character.
Yeah.
You really only see him on his own. So that's a cool twist.
That's how you, I think, kind of give character to someone who's maybe not so interesting on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So here's another one, is 48 Hours, where you've got Nick Nolte, who's this like insufferably rigid, really just a real jerk of a cop, and then he gets teamed up with Eddie Murphy, who's this like smooth-talking criminal, and they basically have to work together to solve a case. This is different because Nick Nolte's a cop and Boba Fett's not really a cop, but I feel like you can have kind of a similar thing going on where they're after the same thing and he needs somebody's help, but you know, that's how you add personality to a cold, you know, Mandalorian mercenary. And then of course there's Man on Fire. This is awesome. This is basically the Max Payne movie, Max Payne 3, pretty much. You've got this retired CIA guy who gets hired by this family to like take care of his daughter, be a bodyguard, and it's cool because he's kind of like, I don't really want to do too much action anymore. I'm done being a badass. I'm done being like this action hero. And then he gets kind of attached to this girl. She gets kidnapped, and he's like, all right, gloves are off. Let's take care of this. And he just proceeds to mess a bunch of people up. And then finally, Drive. Obviously, this is a movie about a guy who drives cars, which Boba Fett doesn't really do. This isn't so much his forte. But I do kind of like that he's, hello, Boba Fett. What are you doing up there? Oh, nothing much, just hanging out. It's me, Boba Fett. Anyway, yeah, I like the idea of that. What? What did you say, Boba Fett? We're gonna do the thing with the. Anyway, but yeah, like Boba Fett, you know, as this dude who's kind of keeps to himself, and maybe he does like weird odd jobs and stuff, but then, you know, he develops like a softer side, getting connected with his neighbors or something. So there you go. Those are some movies that I wish that an inevitable Boba Fett movie could take some cues from.
I love that.
Maybe they'll never do it, or maybe they'll totally screw it up and be like, Boba Fett's a badass and he's gonna fight a bunch of guys, and I'll be like, I don't like this film. Let me tell you why.
Do you think it's a character they'll reintroduce through like the young Han Solo film or something else to kind of refamiliarize people with?
I would not be surprised one bit if he showed up in there.
Before like he gets his own spin-off? Because I mean, we all know he's cool, but I think a new generation needs to be reminded that there's something interesting there.
Also, like the character's changed a lot because they introduced him kind of in a canonical sense as Daniel Logan in Attack of the Clones, and then he shows up as, again, Daniel Logan in the Clone Wars series, and he's still like this like assy little kid. And I like the idea of this kind of like silent, controlled, very cool, almost like Judge Dredd-like character. And then he's shown up recently in the new comics, and he's kind of different. He's kind of more like angry. He's less like kind of calm and collected. He's more like, you know, and I'm kind of like unsure about what they're going to do with that character, but you know, there's different directions he can go. Like,
he had that whole scene in the comic where he basically rushes to Obi-Wan's house in a race with Luke Skywalker and gets in a fight with him.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more brash and less calculated than I think you'd expect from Boba Fett.
I like the idea that he's really, like, he's kind of just, he really paces himself well.
He could have just been having a bad day.
Hey, so speaking of Star Wars canon and history, we got a cool book here.
We got an awesome book here. Might be one of the coolest Star Wars books we've actually talked about in a very long time, if ever.
This is a gigantic tome written by Pablo Hidalgo. This is on DK right now. It's called Star Wars Year by Year. It comes in this really, really elaborate, cool box here. So let's flip through it real quick. Basically, the top-down level of what this book is it takes the franchise that we know so well, Star Wars, and it tells you every single year what was happening, especially through, and you can tell what's happening during the movies and when they're actually developing the stories and creating the films and merchandise and stuff like that. But then it gets into some interesting
This is basically a Star Wars yearbook.
Yeah.
I think this is brilliant because it's essentially a history book. Like I really want to read this because I love understanding pop culture as it pertains to kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
You know? Like the thing you kind of forget is that when Star Wars came out, like the Vietnam War had ended, you know, like 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
So like the general consensus of like, oh yeah, rebellion, like, oh, counterculture, like it was drawing from a lot of really kind of intense themes. And we know it as like, oh, it's fantasy in space. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so as you can see, it gets into all the merchandise, the comics, but one of my favorite times is the kind of, I always call it the Dark Era, which was a couple years after Return of the Jedi and a couple years before the special editions started ramping up again. And we heard about the prequels and stuff like that. And it was really, back then, it was about Star Wars Insider, it was about the toys, it was about the extended universe novels and the comic books and stuff like that.
Yeah, like check this out. So the fact that, we had Rebel Assault coming out the same year as Doom.
Yeah.
Or that, they're, Micro Machines. And then they were kind of like just starting to toy with...
I had this CD box set, by the way. It
was
and it was just like, CDs were out, and Star Wars was like, how do we get in on this? And they put out a box set of all the classic John Williams scores. And I used to listen to them on like the first CD player my family had, and they skipped a lot.
Yeah, like Terminator 2 and Dark Empire. I really like that, just knowing the context of when stuff happens. So.
Yeah, so this is out now. It's on Amazon. It's $50, but I think it's worth it because it's just like you said, it's a yearbook, but it's a yearbook that covers every year in the history of the franchise. Interesting choice to put Kylo Ren on the cover and Darth Vader on the back, but I like what they're doing here.
Also, if maybe you've got to get stuck doing some kind of school project on a particular year in history or the history of a decade or something, this could be a good piece of information.
Yeah, absolutely. And even then, if someone tries to break in your home, you can use it to kill them.
Yeah, or if you want to, you can just paper mache it and use it as a gravestone for a beloved pet. All right, so speaking of things dying, sometimes the dead come back in Dead Rising. We were playing the new HD version on PS4, as you saw maybe at the top of the show. We decided to have a challenge. How fast can we kill 50 zombies in Dead Rising? So let's take a look.
Yo, what's up? It's Brian and Max, and we're going to kill as many zombies as we can in 4 minutes. Let's do it!
All right, let's see what we can do. Nope, that's not it. Barry Reynolds is dead. Dana Sims is dead. Why
it's
did
all
I
falling
pick the
apart.
TV
It's
as
all
the
falling
weapon?
apart. There we go.
All right, one kill.
One. We got a counter in the corner. Keep in mind you can pick up...
Come on, no. Come on. Stop. Don't. We're very early in the game. Wow. All right. How do you throw?
Hold the R button and then hit square. There we go.
All right. Now what do we got?
So we have numerous weapons at our disposal here. We've got...
all right, we got 12.
So rickety bench. I want to see if you can get 100. I think you can get 100. Ooh. Not with those fists, you can't. If you get hungry, there's some snacks in them.
Oh, not the effing camera. Come on. Stop. Okay. No. Ah! All right,
that was
25.
Good. That was actually really good.
Yeah. I guess I would say have a seat.
So this is the original Dead Rising in HD on PS4. Playing it.
Oh no.
This is the first time Max has played this game in many years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And it's also a weird game. Like, it hasn't totally aged.
I feel like it's probably gonna do better with like the kind of the Dark Souls crowd, because it is very much like, it's not a roguelike per se, but it is very sparing with its save points. And
Max, you gotta kill the zombies, not run away from them.
I know.
There we go.
Okay, 27. Stop! Oh, come on! Get off of me,
Oh, he's doing kisses.
F-bag.
I would suggest run over to the left side over there and pick up those potato chips. Do a good munch.
Do a real good munch. Okay.
There we go. Grab those snacks. Hit the square button. All right, we need more snacks.
We all
Plenty of snacks on the floor.
Okay, 32.
There's a bag of chips right there in front of you.
Where?
Over there by that support column.
Oh, so the supportive column.
See him?
38. I see him. There's a lot of zombies in the way, though, Brian.
Yeah, there are a lot of. They're the guardians of the chips. They call those boys.
Dave, no one's ever called zombies guardians of the chips. The snack masters. Yes. Ah.
We got 50.
Okay. I'm gonna go get that bench again.
Oh, they're munching on that dude real hard. Oh, they're a sweet kiss.
What are you guys eating over here? Looks
Oh
good.
no, it's a man.
Looks like a tasty time. Oh no. Come on. Get off. All right. What's the? Did you just wiggle the thing? Or you? Did I die?
You died.
Is that it? All right.
Yep.
You want to give it a shot?
We got 50.
All right. 50 in 3 minutes. Let's see how you can do. Oh, great. Is it gonna start you over here? See, this is what I'm talking about. There's no checkpointing. Actually, you know what? Screw it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This game is really good, except for this.
Yep.
Oh, and also Otis, who can just, Otis can eat it. Otis
You know-
can just eat it.
We don't really need to bring back all the things from this era. There was a lot of some good stuff in this era, and there was some really bad stuff in this era too.
Yeah.
Like the iPhone 3. I
Yeah.
don't need to use that phone ever again. President Bush, that dude can go go fishing.
He does.
Yeah,
He also
he
does paintings now too.
He does. Look
Anyway,
at that.
so yeah, for all video games, all right, cool outfit. Yeah, seriously, look at how old the fashion is in this game. This game doesn't hold up so great. I don't know. It's pretty
This
good.
is
though.
what everybody was wearing to the Xbox 360 launch. Actually,
Yeah,
this is how people dressed back then.
Yeah, Frank's actually modeled after Phil Spencer.
That's true.
This is his original outfit. Yeah. So anyway, Dead Rising trilogy is on PS4 now. That's what Dead Rising 1 and 2, and then
And 3. That's how a trilogy works.
no, but it's like 2 and change or something. Because 3 was on. Yeah, 3 was
3's a real one.
right.
Yeah.
But isn't Dead Rising 3 like? Isn't that one that's on like Xbox One?
Anyway, thanks
Anyway,
for watching.
Yep.
And we back.
Yeah.
What's up? How are you guys doing? Let us know. Use the hashtag #AtNoon, and we will find out how you're doing.
Yeah.
We're also in the comments on YouTube, Twitch, everything else.
What are they doing in there?
They're having a good time.
Are they having a good time?
Yeah. On YouTube, they're probably they're having a good time, but they're also really
They're rowdy.
racist. Yeah.
Fighting.
Something really cool happened yesterday that I'm surprised you didn't see, but Hideo Kojima was tweeting about finishing watching the first season of Stranger Things, which is on Netflix right now, which is a show we all adore. If you haven't seen it, absolutely go watch that. We'll try to get away from spoiler stuff. But he was talking about how he really loved a Tangerine Dream song in there. And I was like, man, is this guy like Max's long-lost uncle? Like that's some of your
we like
favorite-
the same stuff. Yeah.
It's like the Metal Gear guy is tweeting about Tangerine Dream and Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really, really, really loved Stranger Things. It was a kind of a wonderful gift for us to get this year as sort of 80s babies. And they grew up with stuff like The Goonies. And season 1's over. You can watch the entire thing on Netflix.
You
But
should
where does
go
that
do
leave
that.
us?
Yeah. So yeah, Stranger Things. It got announced in season 2, kind of right off the bat. I think it was really no surprise that this was going to have a season 2 after the kind of amazing reaction it got. If you haven't seen season 1, go to the bathroom or make a snack or something, because we're going to talk a little bit about some stuff that would be construed as spoilers. So I warned you, these are spoilers. They're things. So cover your ears or your eyes or whatever. So. Yeah, what? I don't know. I'm sorry. You work here. You should have seen Stranger Things by now.
It's been like 2 months.
Seriously, go watch it. It's on Netflix.
We'll try
Yeah,
not to spoil
thank
things.
you. Go send that boy to the bathroom.
All right, we'll
Anyway.
try not to spoil anything.
Okay.
Especially the dragon.
We're kind of, okay, yeah, it's a Demogorgon. Anyway, so Stranger Things Season 2, there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, you could kind of just end it. You could be like, oh, it's over, and it's done, because it has a good pretty much end cap on it, but there's plenty of stuff kind of left open. So I want to talk about what I want to see in Season 2, starting with, obviously, the return of 11. I want to see 11's return. I think that that's an obvious thing. Where did 11 go? No one knows.
no
and obviously-
apostrophes in that font, huh?
Yeah, no, it's I used makeitstranger.com, the cool website for making the Stranger Things logo. And then I want to see boys visit the Upside Down. We know about the Upside Down. I want to see the boys go to the Upside Down and go on exploring adventures there.
Boys
Boys visit the Upside Down. Yeah.
Upside Down. Okay.
Yeah, I think
All
it's cool. I think it looks good. I want to see Will Byers get weird.
Wilburys gets word.
It says Will Byers gets weird.
You got to use spaces, dude.
I can't. It doesn't let you use spaces.
It's
on
not
there.
making any sense.
I'm sorry. I couldn't. That's how it looks.
Wilburys gets word.
It doesn't look.
Okay.
It looks like okay. Anyway, so
Power
Will
through it.
Byers, some things going on there. He's gonna, I think that something weird's gonna happen. I want to see him get real weird. I want to see him go crazy.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see some new monsters. What's up with those eggs? What's in the eggs?
Newmansters.
Stop trying to read it.
Watson.
Stop trying to read those.
What's that say? Hosey?
It says what's in those eggs.
Hosages.
What's in those? Stop it.
Newmansters
All right.
hosages. Whoa,
I
look at
want to
this.
see 11 goes to school and antics ensue. I think that
Eleven
the whole
goes toast.
stop doing that.
And
The coming-
ain't it
I love the coming of age stuff in Stranger Things. I'd love to see some the whole imagine the whole scene in E.T. with the frogs, but it's with 11 and the gang, the guys. All right, so then I hope we meet with other kids' families.
I can't read any of these.
I hope we meet the other kids' families.
That one's impossible to read.
We didn't really see any other kids' families. I'd like to see more of their home lives, because it's kind of cool to just kind of get some context. Like, what's Dustin's family like? Maybe one of them has really wacky family. Who knows?
I think you can't put whole sentences in this font thing.
I'd like to see a school dance. Maybe the snowball. They talk about the snowball as a school dance. I think that they should have that in season 2. I think
What
it'd
is
be great.
that? Okay.
Maybe the snowball. Or maybe a scene in an arcade. Yeah, I like arcades. I think it'd be cool if they went to an arcade and had a good time there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they'll all go and have a good time together. How about Justice for Barb, huh?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Barb-
how about Joyce
Barbara.
Byers not being a total
It
mess all
doesn't even
season?
fit in the screen.
Joyce
That's how
Byers,
long that is.
Winona Ryder, great character, kind of a mess the whole first season.
They
but,
took
I mean,
her son.
Yeah, well, he's back now, so
You know what else is a mess is that picture.
it's not that much of a mess. That's what it looked like on this when I made it. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to see Winona Ryder being like, oh, she's kind of got her stuff together. Maybe she's gonna be, she's gonna like. I'd like to see some character progression there. So that's what I want to see in Stranger Things season 2.
I would like in Stranger Things season 2. I would like a space bar in the font generator site. That'd be nice. So it doesn't say Joyce Barries Munderbonds.
Brian Altano tries to read words. All right. So we got a new Resident Evil game on the way.
Yeah.
There's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. This is kind of weird because it's the first time it's in. Is it it's not the first time it's in first person, but it's
It's not
like
the first time it's in first person. It's the first time it's in VR.
Yeah, that's for sure.
They're obviously doing something very different with the franchise. It's going really cool. IGN just put up some videos yesterday. They're on our YouTube. New trailers and stuff like that.
They have that demo out there. They actually just pushed an update. So if you still got that installed, maybe update it. There's weird stuff hidden in there. They're kind of doing a whole PT thing, but now they're pushing more stuff.
Yeah, and it's actually been a pretty cool year and a half for the franchise in general. We got some screens of a new film there that's coming out.
Yeah.
It's not the live action one, but a CG movie with Chris and Leon. Takes place in a mansion, which looks really cool. Those are coming out at TGS soon. Resident Evil 4, which is my favorite Resident Evil game of all time, came out a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Remake came out in HD.
Sure.
Resident Evil 0 came out in HD. But this franchise,
Sure, but I mean,
has,
you're talking about really good stuff.
Yes,
but
it's-
Resident Evil also has lots of bad stuff. Like we also got Umbrella Corps, which is like just a weird multiplayer shooter that I think like 4 people on Steam played or something.
yeah, the
Did not review well.
That's a
Did
very
bad.
tough thing to sell, by the way, is a failed online multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
Because if it's just you and 3 people, it's not
Yeah,
working well.
exactly. So like, let's talk about the worst things that's happened to Resident Evil.
Yeah, this franchise has been beloved for a very long time to millions of people. If you remember playing the original Resident Evil, you probably have very fond memories of those dogs jumping through the window and putting everything in that box. Great game.
Must love dogs.
Yes, but this franchise has taken some weird turns and gone in some weird directions. Most specifically, we'll go back to a little game called Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, which was in 2012. It's when the franchise started veering into a more sort of third-person action Call of Duty style game where your herbs were used on the fly as like spray cans. It's multiplayer only. It's very kind of unwieldy. It doesn't really work. As you can see, there's like weird names for people all over the place.
You would have think that Capcom would have kind of learned from this before making Umbrella Corps.
Yeah.
They should have called this Operation Who Is This For?
Yeah,
'Cause
you're
it's sort of-
mostly playing as like the cops, and it's just kind of not really what we want.
Yeah.
Now, it's got little nods to classic Resident Evil, but for the most part, this game was a huge miss. IGN reviewed it. Audrey Drake, former IGN employee, gave this a very poor review back in the day. It's just not a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but feel like, what is it, Metal Gear Survive is going to be very similar to this.
Yeah.
That it's taking sort of this, nuts and bolts of a franchise and
I
just
think
kind of
that's
slapping it on a
really,
more...
really good prediction.
Yeah, so this is honestly like not great, but
Yeah.
Could be a lot worse.
Yeah, so let's actually go back even further. This is a really, really interesting one. Now, for a while, they were trying to make Resident Evil games for the Game Boy Color. They actually, at one point, had a working port of the original Resident Evil for PS1 running on a GBC with polygons and everything. They were all pixel art. This one's a very interesting game because I think I tried to love this game. It's a top-down, sprite-based Resident Evil game that actually goes into first person. It's one of the first times the franchise has gone into first person in what feels like sort of one of those like unlocking mini games in a game where the meter flies back and forth. You got to hit it right on the center of those purple lines there, and then shoot zombies.
And that's, of course, unlike the Game Boy Color's very
So this game,
very weak frame rate.
yeah, this game came out in 2001 in December on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah,
it all takes place on a boat starring Leon. So it's got some cool ideas going for it. I like the idea of a top-down RE.
That sounds almost like a precursor to what is it, Resident Evil Revelations?
Zero. Yeah, well,
But also that was also on a boat that also had you going to first
Revelations,
person,
yeah,
but that was
yeah.
on the 3DS. I feel like they kind of
Yeah,
of a similar
That's
concept.
one of the original handheld games, but it's not the first Resident Evil handheld game because believe it or not, the crazy people at Capcom decided to port Resident Evil everywhere, and that included at one point a little failed handheld called the Tiger Gamecom. You probably don't remember this game because it came out in 1998. Up Up top was the promo screens that they put out for it. Down below is the color scheme it actually played on because it was sort of a puke green. And in the corners what that screen really looked like.
Yeah.
The Tiger Gamecom was the first handheld to ever go online. You could check email and calendar on it. It also had a stylus. This is the Gamecom Lite, which was a slightly more Game Boy Pocket version of it. So I like the idea of them taking Resident Evil 2, which is arguably the best in the classic iteration of this franchise, and pushing it on something that's so tiny and so weird that they actually had to rebuild the game from the ground up.
I don't even know if they have emulators for this system.
No, not really.
I think they might, but like.
Fun fact about this handheld: it also got a chat client, it got a Sonic the Hedgehog game, and it got a Duke Nukem game.
It got Duke Nukem 3D.
Yeah, among other things. So very weird. Those are three of the not best.
Yeah.
Let's just flat out say worst versions of Resident Evil in the Resident Evil franchise. We're hopeful for where 7 goes, but it hasn't always been beautiful.
Yeah, but it could be worse.
It could be worse.
All right, so on that note, we obviously have a big problem collecting Star Wars toys.
Yeah, there's a bunch right in front of us right now.
We keep doing it. They're all over the place. Look at them there.
Yeah.
This guy on the Star Wars collecting subreddit, which we both frequent, named Ryujin?
Ryujin.
It's a screen name. They're hard to read with your mouth. He's been 3D printing Star Wars like set pieces.
Yeah,
basically Star Wars furniture.
Yeah, these are for the Black Series 6-inch scale figures. You have a Boba Fett on your desk over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually collect these and I love these, but you don't really know what to do with them. There he is.
Get out of there.
Man. So he made the Emperor's Throne, which is really cool. He actually designed this thing, sculpted it, and 3D printed it, and then hand painted it.
Yeah.
And these are things I think he's probably custom selling. We can look into that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's totally legal and probably on Etsy, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's basically, it's a cool idea because there was a point in time where Hasbro would be making like crazy box sets of like, oh, it's everyone's favorite scene, the deleted part where Cammy and Fixer and Luke talk about power converters at Tashi Station, but like, they're kind of not really doing that so much, especially for the Black Series.
So let's take a look at how the figures actually look sitting in them. I like this Emperor. He's very pissed off.
I don't want to go out today.
He looks
I'm
like
very
when you're very low in your chair. I like that. But you know, the figure itself isn't that great. He didn't
Mondays,
make
am I
that.
right?
But man, I really like this.
It's a good little set piece. And this one I think is awesome.
Yeah.
You've got the Dejarik table and a nice
a little
kind of
Millennium Falcon
little
chair.
funky little couch that probably got Wookiee stains all over it.
So this is really cool.
look at this.
Here's Luke letting the Wookiee win, and that's the R2 Bandai Namco 3D model
Because
kit.
for whatever
because
effing reason, the Black Series R2 was a Japanese exclusive.
it's impossible to find.
Screw
Yeah.
that. God, I hate collecting that.
So there goes that.
All right.
That's really cool.
And then of course there's this. What is that?
That's the so this is
this
basically
delicious raspberry dessert.
Yeah, this is where all the the good boy chamber that they got in the prequels.
The good boy chamber.
Yeah, here they are, all of our favorite friends sitting around. I really like Yoda in that little toilet chair. It looks great. Obi-Wan's seat looks awesome there.
I bet those chairs just smelled awful. They probably had like a droid come in and Febreze all those things after they got up and left.
But these don't, because Ryujin made these two in 3D printed stuff, and I don't think they smell bad. They probably smell like chemicals. So that's really cool.
Good old chemicals. This one's the best.
By far my favorite. So here's Jabba the Hutt's throne. I have this figure. You can actually buy it. It's very big. It's awesome because when you move his arm, he moves his mouth. So here's his whole thing with his frog bowl and his vape pen and his cool chair that moves out of the way.
That's not a vape pen, Brian. That's a bong.
Well, let's call it what it is. But I really love this because like they're not making accessories at this scale, especially not play sets.
Yep.
So this is by far my favorite one. But the next one is actually really cool too. Let's take a look at this. You can buy this set together. It's Luke on Hoth with the Wampa with a removable arm after it's been cut off.
Yep.
But Ryujin actually 3D printed this ice sculpture behind him. Now 3D printing is kind of weird. I think it really works best for, ironically, stuff that looks like it's from nature. Like it looks really cool on rocks. It looks really cool on ice. So you can have the Wampa pose in front of it. You can put the little lightsaber inside.
I like this because it makes me think like this is a scene where Luke actually breaks into a Wampa's cave and steals his lightsaber.
Yep.
Like the Wampa's like, get back here with that. And he's like, you're never going to catch me. It's mine now.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. Thank you so much for making them. Look this guy up. He's going to be making cool stuff for a very long time. And if you're selling them, we're sorry we're blowing up your spot, and hopefully you make some money because you're about to get rich.
What's wrong with you? All right, so on the toy subject, we're not big on collecting toy cars.
No.
And we're not really big on collecting toy wrestlers either.
Nope.
But that might be about to change because they announced some Wrestler cars.
Yeah, let's look at let's look at these. These are really, really funny to me. Max, I pulled these up and we were laughing at these hysterically. So here's John Cena, and it looks like he lost his phone, but no one told him.
So you know more about wrestling. Who's that man on the left?
I'm not sure.
You don't even know who that is?
No, there's don't quiz me on 2016
What
wrestlers.
I like is that John Cena's like, you can't see me. I'm in your blind spot.
But I can see you because you're 7 feet tall in a 2-foot car. This looks like like when a large man gets in a Power Wheels.
So I went to school with a guy who's now like straight up. He's one of those super popular bodybuilders on Instagram.
Yep.
But when he was in high school, he hadn't really figured out how to bulk up without just getting like super huge.
Yep.
And he drove around in this Miata, and he kind of looked like one of these guys. I thought it was the funniest thing. Like, of all the vehicles that are very large, like, he'd carry around like a gallon jug of water because he was just like constantly hydrating.
It looks like something from Busy Town. Like,
Yeah.
you put a large animal in a
It's
small
also like,
car.
I feel bad for whoever called that ambulance because the guy ripped out the steering wheel. He's like, sorry, your
I hope
family's probably dead because I'm not going to get there. I have to make a turn, and this wheel came off in my arms.
Unless there is straight ahead. So let's take a look at some other ones. This one's really funny too because John Cena comes out and he's got his funny little fat boy
Good.
paddle
It
legs.
turns out that they're also they're chicken. They're little poultry men.
I want to see a wrestling federation where everyone just looks like this. He's also so calm throughout all of this.
Aside from the fact that he's just waving his arms around frantically. Look at those speed lines there.
That's Brock Lesnar back there with a boat. Here's The Rock and The Undertaker. The Rock is basically, again, he lost his phone, but no one told him. These are so great. These are so weird. I'm very happy they exist. I don't have any interest in buying them.
Oh, I do. I
Really?
think we should probably reach out to Playmates and get them to send us all of them. We can make short films about them and stuff. Do
I'm sure they'll
unboxing
love this
videos.
video where we made fun of their toys.
They're really funny. I don't know.
They're
Like
really
that's,
good.
that's the thing is like toys don't have to be like hyper realistic and cool and stuff. They can be silly fun things for kids, and I think these are hilarious. These are like they're totally based on like old like Big Daddy Roth, like Ratfink, those like crazy drawings. I wish they were more stylized. That's the only thing. Like if they made like super cartoony looking wrestlers, like and they're like Gravediggers, his eyes are popping out of his head, and he's like, be kind of cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those exist. You can get them soon in case you can't decide between wrestlers or cars and you want both. All right, so one more thing we wanted to talk about real quick, which is kind of ridiculous, is a lot of classic game franchises are now for sale. And that's a weird thing that happens. We saw it happen with THQ a couple years ago. We saw it happen with Midway. These are companies where you kind of really sort of recognize what they've made and what they've built. Interplay is another one now. I don't know if you're entirely familiar with a lot of their franchises. Max, I think this is probably where you came into, like you started first playing PC games and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, Interplays, they're funny because they like, some studios you're familiar with like most of their franchises. I would say Interplay you're familiar with like a few.
Yeah.
Most notably, Earthworm Jim is one of theirs. They also made Descent, which was like one of the first games that made people queasy because you would spin around a lot and get weird with their spaceship.
And Clay Fighter, which is one of the first games I spent $80 on before realizing that it was a bad game.
Yeah.
I didn't know as a kid. Clay Fighter is the game where it's sort of animated clay characters that were scanned in, sort of like the way Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter digitized characters in a way. Not the original Street Fighter, but the movie version. So that game's up for grabs right now.
Thank you for breaking down the etymology of the game Clay Fighter. I was unclear.
No, for sure. I mean, we thought that was good graphics back then. So it let you play as Santa and you fought a snowman.
No, it was really weird, yeah.
Who do you want, what modern developer do you want to get Earthworm Jim?
Oh, man. I would love to see what Edmund McMillen did with that.
Okay.
Like the guy who made Super Meat Boy, Team Meat, those guys, they do like incredibly weird stuff. Edmund McMillen he's made games that I literally cannot say the title of, not only on shows like this, but in mixed company. Like he's got a really gross sense of humor. Binding of Isaac, you fight all kinds of different poops and body parts in a dungeon. I would love to see what he did with a screaming worm in a mech suit that's launching cows into orbit.
That's awesome. I would say Yacht Club would be a really cool pick to do a sort of Metroidvania 2D art-inspired
cool.
Earthworm Jim. What about Descent? So here's my pick for that. I want to go with DICE.
Really?
Yeah, I want the guys that made like the flying segments in Battlefront to make a slower, more like calculated type game and make it VR.
Huh. Okay, yeah, I mean, VR is an obvious choice for Descent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of unsure on developers who are good at doing space stuff, but that's definitely a good answer.
Yeah.
As for Clay Fighter, what do you think?
Oh, Ed Boon.
Ed Boon?
Oh yeah, I want I want like a gritty, realistic Mortal Kombat style clay fighter. Like I like how they've sort of brought back a lot of their influences of what they were inspired by when making the original Mortal Kombats. So having that take, especially because it's just sort of like it's like my favorite '90s friends getting together to hang out.
That's fair. God, what's the guys who do Little Big Planet, Tearaway?
Oh yeah.
What are they called? I forget their...
Media Molecule.
Media Molecule.
Yeah, when they're done with Dreams, that would be really cool.
I mean, someone's probably going to make Clay Fighter in Dreams or whatever, but they're good at making games that look like physical materials, whether it's construction paper or burlap sacks or asbestos nightmares. So seeing them do like an awful Play-Doh snowman punching the crap out of a... whatever else was in that game. That'd be kind of cool. But I kind of doubt Media Molecule is going to be like, ooh, Clay Fighter's finally up for grabs. I don't really see that happening. That said, nothing might come out of this, but I do love it when, we see kind of new people taking a spin on kind of old concepts.
Yeah, everything old is new again. Speaking of which, we got a present from one of our oldest fans. No, he calls himself that. Yeah. William Holbert, who loves... Oh, there's our address. That's his address, too. He sent us a really cool present, so we're going to open it up real quick. William watches the show every week. He also listens to the podcast Beyond and everything else we do, the Comedy Button. So here we go. We got presents, for Brian and for Max. Is there a letter in there?
It says, I found these cutting-edge action figures at my local grocery store today, and they made me think of you two guys. I wanted you both to have something from your favorite movie of all time next to Avatar, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. I'm giving Batman to Brian as he is the shorter of the team, and Batman is much taller than Superman. I'm giving Superman to Max as the taller of the team, and of course Superman is much shorter. Thus, the balance in the universe is maintained.
I love it.
Thank you guys for what you do, the Game and Work, the podcast, and Up and In, and all the other things. I really appreciate it. William, thank you so much for sending us ridiculous toys.
They're metal. It says "Caution Heavy" and with a picture.
I'm going to throw this at Brian's head. Then Mom's not going to let us go see Mighty Ducks in theaters because we get in trouble.
That's right. If you have presents you want to send us, William, thank you. You're awesome. We're going to customize these and put them in stuff
I think we're going to put aviators on Batman and a Hawaiian shirt on Superman.
If you have presents you want to send us, you can send them to Brian and Max, care of Up at Noon at 625 2nd Street, 4th floor, San Francisco, California, 94107. And next up, Bobby and Mark will face off in Madden 17 on IGN Plays Live. So be sure to check that out. You don't even have to move. It'll just start playing from wherever you are right now. Thank you so much for watching the show this week. I'm Brian. That's Max.
We'll see you guys next week.
We did it. We did it.
Up and down. Up and down.